Life, like the conversation, keeps changing. Get the first ever needs-matched life insurance that changes as your life changes.
Good evening, welcome to another lockdown edition of the Dan Nicholl Show with Bright Rock. Smiling people across South Africa. There are some things we can do, buying wine amongst them as of this week, but we are still not able to get our haircuts, which is why I'm looking even more disreputable than usual, and my wife has me living in the spare room. But it hasn't stopped me jumping on air for another week, and what a week it is. We have three of the greatest athletes I know on the show this week. A little later, Brian Habana joins us from Cape Town. The Brian Habana Foundation is doing an extraordinary job in helping out people in need with food security around the Cape. We also head over to Atlanta, where Edwin Moses recounts, amongst other things, that ridiculous record of 122 unbeaten races. I don't think anybody will ever come close to it. But we start off with a man who I'm led to believe was a top high jumper at junior school and was also rather deft at netball. This is all information that is completely unverified, but we'll throw it in nonetheless. Hello, Matthew Good.
Hello, Dan. How are you? That's great. I love being compared to Edwin Moses. He was a hero of mine when I was a kid. That record will never be beaten, I don't think. But an athlete I am not. A drunk I am. So yeah, you're looking very well. I'm so pleased that people will be able to buy booze in South Africa this week. We were feeling for you, I can tell you. It's been a big seller. You know, you're in trouble.
It's been a tough stretch, but we're navigating it bravely. What's it been like for you? Because we kind of have these visions, or film stars obviously live in these massive mansions and marble palaces with teams of people looking after their assorted offspring. But every time I've spoken to you, you've been chasing a child or trying to teach one, or generally dealing with the delights of lockdown parenting.
Yes, I mean, I suspect that the likes of Cumberbatch and Mr. Pitt might have had a different time. But yeah, we're in a nice little place, but it's, homeschooling has been a pride-swallowing siege. But also at the same time, there has been some positives. I mean, I think due to the nature of the job, I've been, travel is always on the cards, and I spend swathes of time away from them. So it was actually some of the lockdown's been really quite nice. Obviously, the drinking exploded. pretty early on, and then I thought I should buy a spinning bike because I was and I basically dress up in thermals and tracksuit trousers, put some earphones on and sweat it out in 40 minutes and then put it back in again. It's quite cyclical.
Very, very different times for everybody, particularly for the acting world. Has it been a creative space? Have you been dreaming up all sorts of new roles? Have you been doing much work of that sort?
I'd love to say that I've just finished a screenplay, but no, it's been pretty much just schooling and drinking, Dan. I think my golf swing has gotten better because I spend a lot of time in front of a mirror, which sounds typical actor, but trying to get some of that right. I'm just going to I'll take you with me. I'm just going to take a roast beef out of the oven because I have to. But everything's good with you, your kids?
Yeah, we're all extremely well. This is cutting edge television. We've morphed into a reality cooking show. Matthew Good's roast beef.
Yeah, check it out. We're going to do that, let it cool down, put it in the fridge, and then we're going to have cold beef salad with hot roast potatoes, some cheese, 3-bean salad, and some homemade coleslaw, some hummus, some garlic bread. So I have been quite busy, and I'll put the roast potatoes in a minute. We'll be finished with this bit. So anyway,
what I love about it is that you've got your 3 sous chefs and 12 assistants out of camera for this. So it looks like you've done it all yourself.
Yes. Yes, my three sous chefs who are small people, but they work very hard. No, your hair is amazing.
My hair is absolutely unplayable. This has been beaten into place. I've become the new, probably the new Jamie Dornan. I've been using my wife's GHD to try and get some sense of order to it, but I'm just generally failing, and it's completely unmanageable. But
Two very good-looking men.
There's a hint of Kramer to Seinfeld, so I'll take that as cultural reference point. Speaking of cultural reference points, there's a new film out, isn't there? You've reimagined Enid Nesbit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we had. I mean, I didn't obviously. 4 kids in it. We shot it a long time ago. I thought it'd be nice for something to do something that my children could see, and it's all right. It's quite sort of fairly appealing, but I think it's very much more for the kids than adults. And we had a nice time filming it in Dorking in Ireland. It's meant to be set in Cornwall, but we went to Ireland and I wasn't complaining.
Which is, of course, the scene of probably your greatest cinematic triumph. And it still, as a close friend, it still grieves me desperately that Leap of Faith didn't get more critical acclaim, in particular for the majesty of the Irish accent.
Yes, no, there's all sorts of reasons why that went wrong. Mainly, it went wrong because on the first day after training for 2 months with a very, very credible voice coach called Jerry Grinnell, who used to work with Johnny Depp and Heath Ledger and a lot of other big people, Meryl Streep actually as well. We'd been learning a County Kerry accent, and on the first day I opened my mouth and the producer, who I won't name, and I could get into trouble for saying this, it was unamused at, because Americans are famous for having a brilliant ear with accents. I'm actually having a similar problem right now with a Disney film we made last year, with a Scottish accent, but I won't go into details. So they said, you got to dial that back, like, I don't know, man, like 75%. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. What is that? How does one dial back a Kerry accent? And anyway, so then I got flustered, and that's what you got. You got leap year.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a delightful little film. And I like pretty much everything about your film and television career, with one glaring exception. There hasn't been a South African movie, Matthew Good. I haven't seen you play a role.
Well, Leo was in the role in Blood Diamond already, so it wasn't really much for me. It wasn't much to do.
Take this as your screen test. So Matthew Good is playing the role of let's take the typical South African mercenary, because that seems to be what Hollywood likes most. So give us your best 30 seconds. Matthew Good, the South African mercenary.
No. Come here, you. That's right. We're going to have a braai later. I have to go out into the fields, kill a couple of these sons first. All right? I love you, baby. That's a massacring. And then that's what you start. You start big, and then you bring it back with a little bit of clarity later on, hopefully. Anyway, Dan, there you go.
It was a solid effort. I know you've got roast beef to attend to, and we're going to let you go in a moment. Just very quickly, for people who don't know this, have you been out to South Africa? Have you had any time spent here?
I went to Cape Town once, very long time ago, for a photo shoot, which was slightly bizarre. That was when they were really throwing money. This is in a much better era, I think. They'd never do that now. And it was really great. I mean, obviously, it was a bit of a shock seeing some of the poverty that was around, but it's a beautiful place, and some of the wine is astonishing. And I think hopefully with the wine show, in one season we will be hopping over to South Africa, so that'll be a real treat. And also, my wife would love to go on safari at some point. So it's an incredible country. Incredible.
Well, consider yourself invited. An open welcome to come over to South Africa, drink vast amounts of wine, and explore the country armed with that fabulous mercenary accent of yours.
Yeah, exactly. And my mercenary wife. I've got beef and stuff to attend to. I love you. You're such a good man, and well done for continuing through this awful time. And I shall see you anon, hopefully in Scotland. You're great.
Scotland or Cape Town. So there we go. Matthew Good, the star of Downton Abbey, the star of Good Wife, but most importantly, the star of leap of faith. There's been a recurring narrative on the Dan Nicholl Show in lockdown, with a number of athletes talking about this period at home has been the longest they've spent in one place since they started their professional careers. Kevin Peterson and Shane Warne both come to mind. These guys travel a huge amount. But there's somebody at another level entirely, a man even Gary Player looks at, sees his travel schedule and shakes his head. He is a human air mile. Hello, Brian Abana.
Mr. Dan Nicholl, we're great to be back on the show. And not only my career, I think my whole life. I cannot remember when last, and obviously we're now 10 weeks into lockdown, but I mean, for the first 3 weeks, I didn't step a foot outside the boundaries of my, of my four walls. And yeah, like I say, 10 weeks in, I think I've maybe done a few foundation stuff, but yeah, it has been the longest stretch for the last 37 years.
There are pros and cons to that, and I know we've discussed this a couple of times over the last few weeks. It's fantastic having time with the family. It's fantastic spending the sort of quality time that neither you nor I normally get as much of as we've had over the last little while. But it has also asked the question, what are you like at homeschooling and being a 24-hour parent?
Yeah, I'm not the best. I've always had an appreciation for, the teaching and education industry. I always knew I wasn't good at it. I think after week 2, taking Timmy out of the bath the one night and him sort of looking at me and said, "Daddy, when are you flying to London again?" I'm not quite sure that was because he wanted me to leave or because I was really just so bad at the teaching principles.
It really is an almighty juggle, and it's one we've still got a little bit of time to manage. In between all of that, you've also been doing some terrific work, and it's probably a good point to bring in the fact that you and I are in fierce competition as I don my strong together mask. There we go, fitting around my slightly odd-shaped ears. So you can see they're strong together. And this is something we're both doing. We're both ambassadors for Princess Charlene and for her foundation, where people can support it, can unite, be strong together, and also the chance to win a trip to the Grand Prix in Monaco. And as the celebrity ambassadors, we're all getting voted for. And it's getting quite close between us, Brian, because you're on, as of this morning, 82,000 votes or thereabouts. I've currently got 3, which I think is my mum from 3 different email addresses.
I voted for you. Let's just clarify. You got one of my votes, so I at least participated in making you also feel better. But I think, yeah, Dan, it's really great to be involved, and I think some of the best of humanity has come to the fore with regards to that.
The charities that we're supporting through the Strong Together Foundation, this initiative, I'm backing Glorious, which is very close to both of us. You're backing the Brian Abana Foundation. And I've been watching what you've been doing with the foundation with a lot of excitement, a lot of reflected pride. There's my mate doing something really, really cool, because you've been getting out into communities. You've been really hands-on and not just helping people, but I get the sense that you've learned quite a lot as well over the last little stretch.
Yeah, it's been incredible to see the response, but also the need to continue. And, we're pretty excited to continue this journey together. And like I say, if everyone plays their part, the Sia Khaleesi and his wife Rachel with the Khaleesi Foundation, Kez and Colby with the Be the Difference Foundation, there's just so much good coming through this time. And hopefully it doesn't just stop here, but, continues post this pandemic.
So Brian Abana, the philanthropist, has been hard at work and doing admirable duty. Brian Abana, the businessman, has also been at work. A little earlier on today, we had a digital launch, as is now the way of the world, of the latest arm of the sports business that you are involved with. This looks like a really exciting space. It also looks like a space that you've had very much involvement in. It's got the Brian Abana signature to it.
This morning, we were extremely excited to launch a global platform called matchkit.co that I want to say levels the playing fields, no matter what level or tier of athlete you actually are. And it's a platform that helps athletes to commercialize their own online presence, regardless of where they sit in the world, what type of sport they play, and have this consolidation that they can take and commercialize to potential brands that they could align with, which is really great.
And it's available matchkit.co. So go and have a look. It brings together so many elements onto one platform. I think you are onto a winner there, Mr. Abana. It's also one that athletes will have a bit of time to get stuck into, because athletes have more time on their hands for now. We're hoping that ends. If you were still playing rugby now, and I think there are a number of teams who'd sign you up tomorrow if they could, but if you were still playing, would you be comfortable right now to resume playing rugby?
I think there's a long way to go, particularly for rugby. We've seen the likes of soccer and golf and a few other sports starting globally. But from a rugby perspective, yeah, I think it's still going to be a while. A lot has not only been put on hold, but cancelled or postponed until a very later date. And yeah, I think the powers that be need to make some really vital decisions in terms of not only player welfare, but hopefully keeping the game, as afloat as possible.
And watching plenty of reruns of the 95, 2007 and 2019 Rugby World Cups.
Yeah, well, that, and I think I'm actually up to it in terms of naming my best ever 15, or being compared to Cheslin Kolbe and Makazole Mapimpi, who were the first ever Springbok to score a try in a World Cup final, which I'm not quite sure says much about my rugby career. But yeah, I think we're all ready for sport to come back, but hopefully for it to be done as responsibly as possible.
We await with great excitement for those dates to come about. Brian, good luck with the rest of the homeschooling and those 5-year-old and 2-year-old Zoom calls. And more importantly, congratulations on all the work you've been doing with the foundation. You've been a role model, I think, for a lot of sports people in terms of life after the game. And even if this current space is possibly not quite what you're expecting for 2020, you're giving a lot of people someone to look up to. So keep up the great work, and long may it continue.
Yes, Dan.
Brian Abana, a very special guest once again on the Dan Nicholl Show. Over the time that I've been involved with Laureus and been an ambassador for the Laureus Sport for Good Foundation, there have been two defining themes that for me have meant the most. One of them is visiting the projects, meeting the kids and seeing the power of sport for good in action. But the other has been meeting superstars, meeting heroes, people I grew up with posters on my wall of, and then all of a sudden they're standing next to me and I'm trying to keep my composure, normally failing as some global superstar casually strikes up a conversation. And some of those people have actually become really good friends. And one of those is somebody I've always looked up to, but now counts as a really good mate. And so I'm delighted to have him on the Dan Nicholl Show. Hello, Edwin Moses.
Hi, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm extremely well, and I've got a big smile, as I know you do, because last week we were celebrating such a special occasion, 20 years of the Laureus Sport for Good Foundation, of Laureus. And I was watching that video again with Madiba, you standing right behind him, and remembering that for everybody involved with Laureus, there are few people who that 20-year anniversary must mean more to than to you.
Standing on the stage that night, I get tears in my eyes every time I see it, because it was so powerful. And to be standing behind a living legend in Mandiba, but to look out, I had the same view that he had. I was able to see the faces in the crowd, and there were people that were tearing up and patting their eyes and holding on to each other and grabbing each other's hands. It was such a powerful moment. And every time I see that video, it just takes me back to looking all around the audience from left to right, center, top and bottom. And it was just a moment that something I'll never experience again in my life. And it was a fantastic start to the Laureus World Sports Academy and the Laureus projects.
Edwin, you were appointed as that inaugural chairman, partly just because of who you are, the force of personality and the all-round good guy that you are, but also because of your quite ridiculous record as an athlete. I remember telling my wife your statistics, and she thought I was making it up, refused to believe me, and went and researched on the internet, and then came back and apologized. But rather than me, just for everybody watching, especially our younger viewers, remind people that winning streak that you had as a hurdler.
Well, it went on for a long time. It's kind of hard to believe today, because I wouldn't even think about attempting to run the 400-meter hurdles today. It's such a demanding event. But I started out in 1976, about 4 months before the Olympic Games, the first time that I ran the event, and qualified for the Olympic trials. 4 months later, 3 months later, I broke the American record with a time of 48:30, and 4 months later, I was Olympic champion with the world record in 47.63 seconds. And so from 1977, August of 1977 to June of 1987, 9 years, 9 months, and 9 days, it happened to be. I didn't pick the day that I was going to lose, but it was 9 years, 9 months, 9 days. And I won 122 races in a row. during that period of time. So I'm one of the prolific winners in sports, and especially in individual sports. And
I suspect will stand forever, Edwin, and with good reason. A big part of that, naturally talented athlete, incredibly quick, incredibly gifted, made for the 400-meter hurdles. But for even the best of athletes, there would have been that one morning where they weren't quite feeling great. They didn't feel 100%. And they just weren't quite there. What was different about Edwin Moses?
Well, the genesis and how I started, I came out of high school unable to even consider getting a scholarship from any university to go to school. So I had an academic scholarship and studied physics and engineering at Morehouse College in Atlanta. And we had no track, no field. I had to jump fences from 1973 to 1978 when I graduated from there, just to be able to work out. We had no track on the campus. We had no training room. We did have a gym for basketball, but I came up jumping fences to be able to work out, and I would be the most unlikely candidate to become an Olympic champion coming out of high school. I didn't have the natural talent, but what I did was that I outworked people that were a lot better than me. I stayed in the sport longer and outworked people that were much, much better than me. So I just had a passion for track and field. I never thought I would ever make it to the Olympics, but then once the idea hit me and I felt that I had the talent and could find the expertise and the training program, then I made it happen. And all that happened in the course of 4 months, from the time I ran the race the first time until becoming an Olympic champion.
How did you deal after 9 years, 9 months, and 9 days with that first defeat?
I was actually looking at it and the race I lost in 1977 on YouTube. And when I lost to Danny Harris in Madrid in 87, the big event coming up was the qualification for the World Championships, which was going to be in 2 weeks. So what happens in track and field is everyone starts at the bottom. It's like a pot of crabs. There's crabs climbing all over each other to get to the top. But once I got to the top, I realized that, the most difficult thing was staying there, staying at the top, not getting injured, being able to perform. So it's just something that really kind of became organic.
You were a great example and still are for so many Olympians, many of whom find themselves in a slightly uncertain space. They geared up for Tokyo 2020. It's now 2021, we hope, if everything starts working out. What are your thoughts on the Olympic move, and how much do you think it will have affected athletes in general having to move out by a year?
It's going to be hard to hang on. If it was me personally, and travel was possible, if it was me and I had to wait until next summer, I would definitely be on vacation right now. I would do my base training, lots of long distance running, but I wouldn't even dream about doing anything close to competitive. I think they train differently now than I trained then, but I would completely back off and just concentrate on getting rest, doing some recovery training, and just anything that I could do that's just base and strength training. That's what I would be doing.
Speaking of vacation, I know you're a very big fan of South Africa. You've spent time here. You've got a lot of good friends out here in South Africa. Once you can jump back on a plane and head off around the world, how high on the list would South Africa be of somewhere to come back to?
Very high on the list. Very high on the list. There was an event I was supposed to come down to this year that was canceled. So, as you said, I've got a lot of friends down there and really look forward to getting back.
Well, I think I can safely say from all of South Africa, because collectively are massive Edwin Moses fans, you have an open invitation. You don't even need a passport. Just arrive, waltz in. We'll have red wine and lamb waiting for you, and a very, very warm welcome.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Looking forward to it.
So a very special guest to end off the show this week, Edwin Moses, with a record that nobody ever in athletics will come close to touching, a star on the track, but just as much as one off it as well. Big thank you to Edwin. Big thank you to Brian Urbana. Keep up the terrific work with the foundation. And thank you to Matthew Good, Royal Entertainment, as always. We will be back again next week with another lockdown edition, but that is our final one, because the week after that, we are back in studio and back with the full hour-long show on Supersport. So Wednesday, the 17th of June, season 11 proper of the Dan Nicholl Show with Bright Rock kicks off. Thanks for watching this evening. Thanks to all our guests. Stay safe. See you next week. Good night.
Life, like the conversation, keeps changing. Get the first ever needs-matched life insurance that changes as your life changes.